right. So this topic came up during a team meeting the other day, and the topic is of the really popular trend right now of the personality testing of the Enneagrams and da 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 da. And I said, you know what? Honestly, I don't buy into them. And here's why. Because if you understand mind, and if you understand like mind, thought, and consciousness, and how, so mind, thought, consciousness, and monkey mind, then those tests to me are simply revealing survival constraints. So they're great tests if you want to have a way to look into areas where you need to look, see, tell the dirty, rotten, stinking truth, and take responsibility. Yeah, they're great. But if you're looking for, oh, that's my personality test, so now this is why I do what I do, all it suggests to me is that there's a lack of understanding, which is totally fine. 95% of our neurology is designed to keep us from being able to see those imprints that were made throughout our life in the pain realm, right? We don't want to have to experience the pain from our past. We don't have to want to experience those circumstances that happened to us. So here's what happens. We have survival constraints, and they take on many different kinds of forms. So a survival constraint could be perfectionism. A survival constraint could be introvert. A survival constraint could be extrovert. A survival constraint is, like I'm just not a good public speaker. A survival constraint can be jumping to conclusions. A survival constraint is any kind of behavior that has been adapted because of a negative vibrational frequency represented as a negative feeling, which comes from thinking, right? So we can't feel emotionally anything we don't first think. So let me go through this for a second with you, so that there's a deeper understanding. So we have mind, right? So mind houses the blueprint for our reality. Mind is where innate lives, right? Then we have thought, and thought is mind's energy. We have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day, according to NIH. Of those 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day, 80% are negative. Not my research, NIH. 98% of those thoughts are recycled from yesterday. So it's like Groundhog Day, okay? So when we spend time in thought, that is thinking. Thinking is choice. You get to decide which thoughts you want to spend time with. And even if you're thinking something negative, do you know, as a human being, you have all of the capacity to immediately change your thinking? No, Barb, you don't understand. I just can't stop thinking about my fear of failure. I just can't stop thinking about what my parents said. I just can't stop thinking about what my spouse said. I just can't stop thinking about. That is not true. Because right now, let's say you're thinking about something negative. Let's say you're a parent and your child ran up to you and hugged your leg and said, "Mommy, I love you," or "Daddy, I loved you." You would immediately be able to stop your thinking and start thinking about something else, of the love of your child. Or for those of you who have done education, even high school education, can you remember having a test that you did poorly on and you just kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, or maybe something even positive, and you thought about it and you thought about it and you thought about it? Are you still thinking about it today? No, because you chose to think about something different. So you have the choice of thinking. All right, so mind, thought, thinking. Thinking then drives our feelings, our emotions. And I'm not talking about physiology feeling like, ooh, I touch something hot and now I pull my hand back. I'm talking about feeling called emotion. So if 80% of our thoughts are negative and thinking drives feeling, can you see how our feelings then are typically going to be 80% negative? And we're all up against the same obstacle, and that is unexamined thought. So these thoughts come, we spend time with them, and we don't really stop and look at them. So our feelings are from innate to say, stop and look at that thinking. What is the truth about that thinking? What story have you made up? And I want to tell all of you that freedom lies in knowing that you are cause in the matter. Freedom lies in the fact that you get to choose your thinking. Just like I did a Facebook Live the other day about money. Money in and of itself, it's paper. And yet you get all worked up about you don't have enough. It's only your thinking. It is only your thinking. And if your thinking is all about lack, if your thinking is I don't have enough, if your thinking is people don't want to be under regular care, if your thinking is the world is broke, guess what's going to keep showing up? Because your thinking is the lens by which you see the world. You recognize that, right? So those who are joyful, it's different thoughts. It's different thinking. And you can change your thinking based on what you're feeding your mind. So if you're feeding your mind negativity, your thinking is going to be based on that. You get the choice of what you feed your mind, just like you get the choice of what you feed your body. Okay, so thinking to feeling 80% negative, that leads to a monster, a behavior, and a survival constraint. So let's say Candace said, I hate your hat in the comment section. And I could be like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I wore this hat on a Facebook Live and I should have done my hair and da 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 da. I'm never going to do another Facebook Live. Survival constraint. That's how it happens. So then what happens is we run survival constraints, neuronal synapses, right? Patterns, habits, and they can seem, we can run those so often that we forget who we are, because your authentic self is who you were at birth. That's human. And the personality tests really should test that, because we were all pretty similar at birth. Like, you didn't care what anyone else's schedule was at birth. You didn't worry about anyone else's thinking as a 2-year-old, and you wanted to show everybody that you were able to go to the bathroom on the potty. You didn't worry about their thinking. You didn't worry about their feelings. All of that was developed into a survival constraint. But your authentic self, that is not you. So I want to invite all of you to upgrade this concept, especially as chiropractors. Because listen, a new reality comes about because of this. Mind plus consciousness plus new thought creates new reality. And if we're stuck in, well, this is just my personality, so this is how I have to be, then please don't tell your practice members that they have any ability to change as a result of chiropractic care. Nope, you're just stuck in those subluxation patterns. You're going to be a diabetic for the rest of your life. You're going to have headaches for the rest of your life. Your child is never going to get better. They're always going to wet their bed. Then just be honest, because you have surrendered yourself to some test that says this is who you are, even though that is not your authentic self. That is not your authentic self. Your authentic self does not operate from a position of fear. Your authentic self does not operate from a prison that was created based on experiences from the past. But until and unless we're willing to look, see, tell the dirty, rotten, stinking truth and take responsibility and really own that we are cause in the matter, you will live in a prison that you created in your own mind. Guess what? I know how to break you free. And I'm here to help you do that. So if this is like struck a chord with you and you're like, you know what? I was kind of thinking that the same. Like, I'm more than my personality traits, right? Like my mind, remember that anything is possible until you say it isn't. Anything is possible until you say it isn't. If you've only been in practice 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you had no idea this would be possible. You didn't. This, at one point, this phone that now to some people has become like air itself, it was just somebody's imagination. In Chiros school in the early 90s, no one knew about this. And now if you didn't know what a cell phone was, it'd be like, what are you, nuts? Because anything is possible until you say it's not. So if you want to get into that kind of flow, if you want to get into that kind of thinking, if you want to expand your consciousness, I'm your girl. And here's how we'll connect. Shoot me an email. I'm also going to put a link below. You can grab time with me. Don't wait. If Innate is speaking to you now and giving you that nudge, step forward. And if you're resistant, I promise you it's a survival constraint coming up and stealing possibility from your life. So survival constraints are there to protect us. So like I said the other day, survival constraints, think of this. So if I have an unstable disc and that joint now becomes unstable, my nerve tissue is at risk, right? So the very first thing that happens is muscles lock down, right? So I can't move that joint, potentially risking injury to my nerve tissue, whether it's the nerve root or the cord, right? So Innate knows, like, shut it down, man, shut it down. Well, when not corrected, we all know what happens. Phases of degenerative change, right? Before long, ossification begins in the form of bone spurs. Like a bone spur is an anchor to protect the joint so the nerve tissue is not damaged. Do you know, in the same way, your thinking gets ossified and now the survival constraint is really a degenerative change that keeps us from being our natural selves, our state of wellness. And I understand, like, there's a lot to take in here. I'm excited to share it with you though. So let's get together. I'll put the link below, grab time with me, and let's explore what you breaking free in your thinking, in your awareness, expanding your consciousness, how it will radically transform your life and everyone around you. I hope this has been fun. I know I've had a great time. Thanks for hanging in. See ya.